Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Headline Books Christmas Extravaganza session. I am here with some very special guests today. We're going to chat about a children's book and urban farming. We have Matt Browning, who is our children's book author, and we also have John Porter, who's going to be joining us today. And John is the Urban Agriculture Program Coordinator for the Nebraska Extension. So I'd love to extend you all a very warm, Zoomy welcome to our program today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, I am excited.
Great. So if any of you all watching have questions for our presenters, you can feel free to type them into the comments section of this video, and we'll do a Q&A here at the end. Also, if you're interested in purchasing the book that we're going to be discussing today, there's also a link for that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to John to get us started.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here to talk to you today, Matt. It's been a long time. It's been about 3.5 years since I've been.
Well, you moved halfway across the country, like quite literally,
Right.
like that's middle of the country, aren't you?
Right. Yes. So I moved far, far away. Moved from the mountains of West Virginia to flat and corny Nebraska. So
How's that going? How you liking that?
I love it here. Omaha's a happening place. So
I've never been to.
So that's really fun. But we're here to talk about you, and here to talk about chicken stew. So let's talk about chicks in the city.
Let's talk about it.
So tell me, what is Chicks in the City and who is Chicken Stew?
I don't know. No, Chicks in the City is a children's book about urban farming, and I'm going to hold it up, but I don't think I mirrored my screen, so it's probably looking backwards to you. It's about a little chicken named Chicken Stew who lives on the farm like a lot of chickens do, and he can see the city way off in the distance, and he just feels a little out of place on the farm and wants to go there. And not to spoil the whole book, but his friends on the farm say that you can't go there. Chickens don't live there. But through a series of events, he winds up there. He learns all about it, and we'll save the grand finale for when we do the reading here in a little bit. But
Right,
that's
spoilers, right?
A little chicken learns that farming does indeed happen in the city, not just on what we consider traditional farms.
Right. And I think that's an important message, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's talk about how the idea for this book came about and how Chicken Stew came about. So how did it come about?
Well, and I'm getting ready to pitch this answer right back over to you. I was brought in, my colleague Stacy Herrick, who may be watching, and I were brought in to do the marketing for an event here in West Virginia called the West Virginia Urban Agriculture Conference that you were at the helm of at the time. And this was probably what, 2015?
2014 was the first one.
We just developed this little character-based marketing concept with a chicken. So the logo became a chicken with a little fancy skinny necktie, an urban chicken, right? We pitched it to the committee. It became the sort of logo, and we personified the chicken with the name Chicken Stew. And that first year, man, we had a little doll made and went all over the city of Charleston, kind of like a traveling gnome kind of concept.
Yes.
Took him everywhere. This little chicken was getting into places I can't get into. The governor's mansion. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I found that picture the other day of me. Like I sent that out. It's like, here's me and Chicken Stew and the governor of West Virginia.
With Earl Tomlin at that time.
Yeah.
I'm like, you must be doing something pretty good. But why don't you, because you were sort of the brainchild of the actual event, tell us a little about how that came about and why.
Right. So the Urban Agri Conference was this thing that I sort of dreamed up. And I thought, okay, we'll do it one day, and maybe we'll have 50 people show up and we'll call it a day. And I think it just kept growing and growing that first year. So it turned into a 2-day event, and we had, I think, like 225 people show up. Like, it was crazy. And I think Chicken Stew really helped that. It was really fun to see all the things, looking back at the pictures. And then, there's always been a creative poster with Chicken Stew for the conference. There was the wanted poster, when Chicken Stew was an outlaw. There was a concert, a concert festival poster. And then, chicken stew still works after I left.
This past year we did a Woodstock theme. We recreated the Woodstock poster, and then of course COVID happened, and here we are.
So I have to admit that whenever we were coming up with the promotional idea for this conference, and you pitched chicken stew, there was someone on our team that didn't like chicken stew, and that was me. I tried to veto chicken stew, and I can't believe I tried to do that. But
well, it was a little out of the box. Let's be honest. Especially working, my day job was with West Virginia State University, and John's was with West Virginia University, and we were collaborating on this. And in higher education in general, it's a little bit of an out of the box concept.
True. Yes.
But it worked, and it was very well embraced. And not to talk smack, but our president of my university at that time, who's no longer there, was a little apprehensive, a little not super keen on getting his picture with the chicken stew doll. But when the governor did it, man, he's like, okay, I get it.
Right, chicken stew is a celebrity in urban agriculture circles in West Virginia. So Stacy,
our collaborator I mentioned earlier, would lament that Stu had more Twitter followers than she did.
Yes, I think chicken stew does have more Twitter followers than most of us. So.
Oh well.
Right.
People love characters, people love humor, look at what Tony the Tiger or all of these, character-based things. It works, and it works.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm still thinking back to that first conference when I think it was the first conference, and we had a backyard chicken workshop, and we thought the person was going to talk about like laying chickens, egg laying chickens, and no, it was talking about meat chickens, and they came ready to do like a full demonstration, like right on campus of the college.
I don't know if we have children watching on Facebook Live, but it was a very graphic demonstration.
Yeah, it's like, probably we shouldn't show that to chicken stew. So we've talked a little bit about chicken stew and how he came about. So how did you take that idea and turn it into a children's book? What inspired you to do that?
Well, let me say on the front end, writing a children's book was not in my wheelhouse of experience or on my bucket list of things I wanted to do with my writing career. I'd written some young adult novels, and that was as young as I intended to go.
Right.
Because I'm not around children very much. I have some in my family, but I'm not around them very often. And I don't have children. But the way we fleshed out the biography, I guess, of Chicken Stew for the event lended itself to a children's book structure. We had fleshed out a whole storyline for him, especially that first year. The first year on his Twitter, he went from the farm, found himself in the city, and was learning about these things through Twitter. This little stuffed animal that came to life. And I guess I was just looking for my next literary project, which is what I do independently from that job. And it just fell into place. The story it's kind of silly to say, the story was almost sort of already written
right
through the tweets. And I just had to put it together in the concept of a children's book. And it rhymes. I went with the verse type of structure. There's pros and cons to that sort of structure, but I write song lyrics a lot. So rhyming things is kind of fun and cool for me. Mm-hmm. I hoped that kids would take to it too. And I think they have. The feedback's been pretty good on the book.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great book. It's beautiful. So I have my copy right here. And
the blurb, by the way, John's on the back somewhere right there.
But yeah, see, that's why I not only have like this one copy that you sent me, I have like 3 or 4 more. But they're in my office for people to check out to use with their programming for early childhood, 4-H, all those things that we work with.
Good.
So we have a small library of them at my office, which I think is great. And we'll talk a bit in a bit about why it's important to talk about urban agriculture with kids. So we'll get to that. But, you know, it's a great book, a beautiful book. We were talking a little bit about the illustration before we started here.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Ashley. Well, it's Ashley Teets on the cover. She's now Ashley Belote. And I heard a humorous story. And Ashley, I don't know if you want to come back in and share this.
Sure.
I just, before, when we were practicing, viewers, I heard the inspiration behind the cover of the book, which I didn't know about before.
Yeah, so I was working on this and, you know, Chicks in the City, we had to have the chicken and we had to have the city aspect as part of the cover. So I was trying to figure out a way that I could make this fun and interesting, and I like to play with perspective. So I was doing some like cityscape searches on like Google just to, you know, find some neat cityscapes. And then I was like, oh, I have the perfect picture. And about a year and a half ago, I got married, and I had my bridal shoot was in a downtown area. So there were like buildings all around, and there's this picture of me at the top of these stairs with this gorgeous cityscape behind me. And I was like, aha, that is perfect. So I scanned in that picture and I took myself out and drew a chicken over top of me, and that's what the inspiration was. So, I mean, there's inspiration all around you. You know, you just have to keep an open mind.
I have to say, I've gotten a lot of good feedback on the cover and the illustrations and the quality of the book itself. So thank you, and thank Headline Books in general.
Yes, and a big shout out to my photographer, Michael Anderson, because he's the one who like framed that shot. So little did he know how handy that would come later.
Way to know, like finding that weird inspiration, like the look of chicken stew was based on that stuffed animal that you and that Matt and Stacy like dragged around the entire state of West Virginia. And I can remember like chicken stew by the end of like year 2 was looking a little ragged.
Well, we took him to the dry cleaners, and it cost $5. I think it was $5 to get a stuffed chicken cleaned. Just if that ever comes up for any of you all.
Well, and then like I think you found another one to replace, and then like that one sort of fell apart too, and then you went back and couldn't find it, so you got another one. Like it's sort of a little bit different. So we said that Chicken Stew went and had a little work done.
Well, we finally found the same doll, but it wasn't like available readily. I found it on eBay in the UK.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I'm thinking myself, people in the UK are wondering, why is somebody in West Virginia buying this chicken? But we finally found a replacement that matches the original.
Well, that's good.
But that was the inspiration that Ashley used. And I'll tell you, when we first started working together, Ashley, you were like, what are your ideas, or whatever, however you said it. And I was like, I had 2. Here's what the chicken stew doll looks like, if you want to use that as your inspiration. And number 2 is I wanted the cat character, who's right there, to look like my real cat. And you, kudos, you did a good job.
Thank you.
You may pop in, I don't know. I've sort of backed myself into a corner that they don't have a direct route to jump in my lap, but cats can do what they want. We'll see what happens.
I think that's fine. We always love cameos from cats and dogs, anybody, you know, it's Zoom. This is the way of the world now. So it wouldn't be a complete appropriate Zoom call without a cameo from a pet.
Well, right now, sleep on the back of the couch, so we might be all right.
It is really, you know, it's really fun when I work with authors whose books come from a personal place. And, you know, whether it's being able to model a character after like a person in the author's life, or in this case, a pet, it's really interesting because, again, it just adds another layer of that personal touch with it. And so getting those photos of your cat to work from was really great. And again, it adds a layer of emotion to it. So it's always fun for me.
One of the, when I did a little news release about, it may have been this or one of my other events, I had put a social media picture of me with the book up, and the cat was just sitting behind me on the couch. And I sent my headshot with the news release, but the reporter contacted me and was like, I saw this on your social media page. Could I use it instead? So the cat was on the front page of the like entertainment section.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that the way it goes?
That works.
Well, do you two have anything else to share about the writing process or the illustration process?
We haven't really talked actually deeply about your illustrations and how you chose what to illustrate, I guess, or whatever, but you did a wonderful.
Yeah. So a lot of times, the point of illustrations in a book is to show things that aren't being told in the words. So a lot of times when I first get a manuscript, when I'm working with an author who's doing independent publishing, is we'll kind of chat about certain things that could be taken out, because you can show so many things in a picture and you don't necessarily need those words. So we kind of, narrow it down to the necessary text, and then it's fun for me because like that story's already being told. I really can draw whatever I want. So, you have to, of course, if the words say like the chicken walked through the snow, you can't draw like a flower field or something like that. Like, you have to kind of, there's a delicate balance, like you have to represent it properly, but there's so many little things hidden in the art, which is the type of art that I really like to do. It's really good for rereadability in children's books, because you don't want someone to read through the book and be like one and done and, not ever want to revisit it again. But if you hide little Easter eggs in the art, then the kids and the parents will be like, oh, I see this character now. Let's go back and see, where else it appeared. Or, oh my gosh, look at this little sign in the background. That's funny. There's so many opportunities there because a picture really is worth 1,000 words. And in this case, the character was so great. Like the personality of the chicken was hilarious. Chickens in general are just funny. Like, there's so much you can do with that. I mean, even if it was like a non-verbal book, like if it was just, a wordless picture book, you can do so much with a chicken because they're just hilarious. So it takes a good story to prompt good illustrations. So it really is a team effort, which is why I like doing it so much, because you really need both of those parts to make it work. And again, like the personality that came through was so much fun, and I really just had a good time.
Well, that's the way it worked. You helped me whittle down some unnecessary words by illustrating it. And I was trying to flip to the page off the camera. You may have been able to see it, but you put those little Easter eggs, like there's a dog in the back of the pickup truck. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Not on the page, but it's not in the words, but it's in the art.
Yeah. And again, that's why it's so much fun, because a lot of times everybody will envision things differently from another person. So it was really nice that you just told me, because you really only told me like those two things that you had mentioned. And then you're like, other than that, whatever. So it was nice to have that freedom to just kind of go for it. And again, just being able to bring that character to life on the page was really enjoyable.
Well, thank you. I didn't feel qualified to micromanage the art process.
Well, I appreciate that.
These are my two things. Have at it from there.
And I needed those two things. That was very important to have, like, the personal connection with the cat and stuff like that. Those are really, like I said, really great things to be able to incorporate, because it really does make it even more personal for you and for me as well. So like I said, it's a team effort from start to finish.
Cool.
Wonderful. It's wonderful to hear about that process and the collaboration. And I guess without any further ado, should we actually hear a little bit about Chicken Stew and his adventure?
I suppose we could. So I pre-recorded a reading because I just thought it would be a little bit cooler than me trying to do this number and hold it up. So here in a second, I'm going to share my screen and we'll see if this works. If you want to, sing a little song or something, John, while I'm getting my file pulled up.
I don't know that I'll sing a song. We didn't.
You are. I was just being silly, but you are a good singer. So, here's your chance.
Who knows? You could have this could be a discovery, like Star Search or something.
Right.
Okay, did that work? Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, we're all good.
All right, here we go. Hi, my name is Matt Browning, and I'm here with my friend Chicken Stew. And today we are going to read Stu's story called Chicks in the City. It was written by me and illustrated by Ashley Teets-Belote. On the farm one summer day, All the cows and sheep were frolicking at play, each with a great big smile on their face, but one little chicken felt quite out of place. From way up in the silos, so very high, Stu stared out at the skyscrapers, touching the sky. He said to himself, it sure is a pity that a chicken like me can't live in the city. I want tasty lattes to start off my days, to visit galleries and museums and plays. The animals would say, the city has cars everywhere. There's no place for curious chickens out there. So he wandered the farm and gave a weak cluck and sat down to think in the back of a truck. The engine sprang to life. He almost ran, but instead Chicken Stew quickly hatched a plan. I'll ride into the city and prove them all wrong, he said to himself as the truck rolled along. Once in the city, a new life I'll build. This fine chicken doesn't belong in a field. When he came to a stop at the first traffic light, he hopped from the truck with all of his might. He crossed at the curb and got lost in the crowd. This place sure is big and fast and loud. Through a puddle, a car zoomed in a flash, soaking poor Stu in a great big splash. His beautiful tie was all filthy with mud. This trip to the city is already a dud. It was all too much for poor Stu to take. Coming to the city was a great big mistake. I missed the quiet farm and I've ruined my tie. He ducked into an alley and started to cry. A kitten appeared from behind the trash pile. My name's Alley Cat, she said with a smile. I'm very sad, Stu said to the kitty. There's just no place for a chicken in the city. Farm life was tough, but the city is too. Just what is a poor little chicken to do? She said, it takes time. The city's not mean. Why, just look at your tie. Your tears made it clean. See, Allie said, things are already improving. If it's farm life you want, then let's get moving. Allie knew the city and didn't steer Stu wrong. They came to a farmer's market an entire block long. The eggs are cool and the veggies I adore, but I'm still uncertain. I need to see more. Can we keep going? He asked the kitty. I'm still not sure I belong in the city. So he followed Alley Cat for 2 blocks or 3, and up ahead spotted a very tall tree. What's that? He asked as they rushed down the street. It's an orchard, said Allie, full of apples tweaked. While all through the orchard it was fun to play, Stu still wasn't sure he wanted to stay. It's all very busy and crowded here too. I didn't think I would miss the farm, but I do. Allie took him to a garden for all people to use. Stu just couldn't believe the good news. There were tomatoes and peppers all ripe for the picking, and as Stu looked around, he spotted a chicken. This really threw Chicken Stew for a loop. Beside the garden was a big chicken coop. All the birds inside hoped that Stu would stay and live with them in the city each and every day. He straightened his tie and slicked back his feathers. He had found friends that would stick together. This is just what I was hoping to find in the city, and I don't have to leave the farm behind or you, kitty. All over the city, farming is everywhere. It's a lesson that Stu is excited to share. I knew all along, he happily cried, that even a chicken can be citified. So that was Stu's story, and as you know, he met a little cat named Alley Cat, who you may have heard meowing around me. Allie is based on my real-life cat named Allie. So that is Chicks in the City, written again by Matt Browning, illustrated by Ashley Teets-Belote. You can find a copy on mattbrowningbooks.com.
Well, wonderful. Thanks for reading that for us. Though it's like, you know, you're wearing the same clothes, but you've lost your facial hair.
That was the pandemic when I was like, let's just grow all this out. But now I've started giving myself haircuts, so I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, the cat got her cameo in the pre-recorded reading.
Perfect.
So I'm turning the tables on you, John.
Okay.
I'm going to do the Q, and you're going to do the A.
Okay.
So this book is about urban farming. Why do you think it's important for us to introduce this concept to young children?
Well, I think, you know, looking at my work, we see lots of agriculture in the city, just as Chicken Stew discovered, and people don't realize that it's there. And I will say that one of the important things that urban agriculture does is introduce people to agriculture and the food they eat. You know, more and more you will, you know, talk to a kid and you ask them, where does their food come from? And they'll say a grocery store. They have no idea where their food comes from. And so urban agriculture can be a way to introduce them to actual agriculture. And it's interesting, even here in Nebraska, you know, Nebraska is like the ag state. We're like the #1 producer of so many things like cattle. You know, we're like top 10 in cattle and corn and soybeans. And most people don't realize we're #1 in popcorn, which is, you know, which is great if you love popcorn. But even here in the cities, you know, Omaha's a big city. And I can remember last year I had a group, I think they were middle schoolers, come out to the farm, and I took them to the chicken coop. And these kids had never seen a chicken in real life. They had no idea about anything. We showed them cattle. They had never seen a cow before. Some of them hadn't even seen gardening, like vegetable gardening, or didn't know, you know, how to do it. So not only is it important to like connect them to their food, but we're finding that urban agriculture is an important way to let a lot of the city population, and especially marginalized populations, to have some, I guess we would call food sovereignty. If you're able to grow your own food, especially if it's food that's specific to your culture, that can be important. You know, I work with a lot of refugees, and they can't go to the grocery store and buy the food that they're used to seeing or from their home country. And it's the same for children. You know, if you introduce them to the foods that, you know, is important to them, but also to their culture, and give them access to grow it, I think it's always important. You know, and we never know what's going to happen, you know, one day to the next. You know, we could have a global pandemic and not have food at the grocery store.
What are the odds of that happening?
Right. And so, you know, having kids realize that, oh yeah, I can grow my own food, or my neighbors are growing food. I just need to know where to look for it. You know, we've seen so much, you know, the pandemic has done a lot of bad stuff, but it's, I think, really heightened our awareness of importance of local foods. And in some cases, some farmers are doing so well this year if they're selling online or at the farmer's market, because people are wanting that local food and know where they can go get it. So I think it's important to let kids know that.
And you kind of touched on the next question I was going to ask. What are some ways that parents and caregivers could get their kids involved in urban farming, or even farming in general, if they aren't in an urban setting?
Right. Well, I mean, one thing would be to go to the farmer's market, to let them see, you know, there are farmers that grow stuff in the city and near the city. And so you going to the farmer's market is a great way to meet farmers. And so I think that's important. And then also, you know, just finding opportunities for your kids to explore on their own. Get them a few packs of seeds and let them start a garden. Let them have some containers to grow stuff in. Find a nearby community garden. And even, you know, you and I, you know, we both, our day jobs are working with the university. Like 4-H is a great way to introduce kids to, you know, we do agriculture, but we do so much more. STEM activities, lots of stuff to introduce kids to 4-H. And, you know, no matter where they live, they can be involved in gardening or growing something. Or, you know, in the city, you have to watch out to see if you can really have chickens or not. Like I was in Charleston whenever they finally did an urban agriculture ordinance to decriminalize chicken ownership in Charleston. And so, but you can do a lot of agriculture in the city.
I was hoping, I guess, when writing the book and picking out the things that Stu comes to along his little trek, it's just a quick introduction, obviously, in a children's picture book, that's what you do. But hopefully it would spur conversation with the parent or the caregiver, whomever, to say, you know, what is that? Tell me more about that. And hopefully that will spark the interest in the young readers, I hope.
Right. You know, like Chicken Stew goes to the farmer's market. Oh, well, you know, is there a farmer's market near us?
Right.
Or if, you know, he finds the apple tree. Are there apples growing near us? And chickens, you know. So yeah, I think having those conversations, letting children explore, there's all kinds of opportunities out there to introduce kids to agriculture.
And if any, so I'm reading through the chat, you've been called a legend, John.
Oh, well.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. If anybody has questions,
I refer to myself as a very minor local celebrity. I think Chicken Stew is more of a celebrity than I am, but
well, he's got us both beat with that.
True.
If anybody has questions, though, put them in the chat. Thanks for all of these comments. These comments are very gratifying.
I see someone that finally they got the humor of Chicken Stew.
So, okay, we mentioned very early on our collaborator Stacy, who she named Chicken Stew because I think her belief was that if she gave the character a name, it would be harder to kill. As we shopped him through the idea phase. And
right. And pot pie just doesn't sound like a real name. So Chicken Stew, even though it's spelled STU,
we didn't want to be too blunt.
Right. Okay. So we've talked about Chicken Stew, we've talked about the book. What if I want the book, and what if I want a signed copy of the book? How do we do that?
So if you want the book and don't want it signed, you can get it on Amazon. But if you want a signed copy, go to mattbrowningbooks.com. Right at the very top, there's a little link to my PayPal page. So you just send me the money. I have the price on there. And in the note of your PayPal transaction, put the personalization if you want it personalized. Otherwise, I'll just write my name and the address you want it mailed to, and I will get it out ASAP. And I will also follow up with you to confirm and give you the tracking number and all that.
That would be perfect. And would be a great holiday gift. We have those coming up.
It doesn't technically fit in a stocking, but it's a great stocking stuffer.
Well, I guess if your stocking was big enough.
Oh, it looks like Stacy's in the chat, and her daughter loves the farmer's market scene.
Wonderful.
And we do have a comment from Facebook.
Okay.
Here, let's see. Lisa says, "This is so exciting. Congrats, Matt Browning." So that's kind of nice to hear. We have a lot of people saying congratulations. And I do have a question, with 2020 being what it is and what it has been, it's changed a lot of things. It's brought with it, though, a lot of positive things. So, here at the Headline Books Christmas Extravaganza, we're trying to end 2020 on a high note. So if you have like a positive experience from the pandemic that you could share, we would love to hear that. And same for you, John. We'd love to hear, something positive that's happened to you during this time.
It relates to my writing career, but it doesn't relate to the Chicken Stew book. But I did sign the contract on my next book and was able to get it written.
Perfect. See, that's a good thing.
It's a pop culture book about the Golden Girls. So stay tuned. That'll come out next September, tentatively.
That is fun. Oh, well, congratulations on that. That's definitely something positive.
I managed to monetize watching the Golden Girls.
Hey, man, that's a feat in itself. Congratulations.
I joked about that, saying, "Oh, I get to call Golden Girls work," and then I realized, "Oh crap, this is really work."
What a great job.
Yeah.
What about you, John? Something positive that you can tell us about that happened to you from the pandemic?
Well, I would say it was finding ways to virtually connect with people. So, I've had a lot more collaboration at work through virtual work, but also even with friends, we can't get together and hang out. As Matt said, I'm a singer. I'm in a chorus, and we basically choruses that can't happen. And so some of my friends from choir, we gather regularly to play games, virtual games. So we've been playing lots of stuff via Zoom, and we just tried out Among Us, and we decided that we can't play Among Us anymore or we won't be friends.
That's great. And see, you would have never done both of you, who knows if these things would have come to fruition had it not been, you know, for this time of reflection that we've had. So that's good to hear. You know, you have to think
that positive.
Yes, more so now than ever before, I think. We have another comment from Lisa from Facebook saying, you need to nominate this book for a JMG Growing Good Kids Award. So that's very encouraging too. Thank you.
Already passed that along to my publishers.
There we go.
It's in the works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if there's any further adventures of chicken stew in writing, maybe it's going to be a thing. Be sure, if you need like a dashing young extension agent to teach Stu about agriculture,
we can model him. What was that? There was an extension agent on Green Acres. We could just model you after that dude.
Right, there we go. Actually, the county commissioner did ask if that was me. Like the character's name was Hank Kimball. And when I was at a county commission meeting, it's like, oh, you're like the Hank Kimball of Kanawha County. I was like, I guess I am. I don't know.
The younger people watching are like, what are they talking about?
What is this? Green Acres television?
It was a TV show back in the olden days.
Right.
Probably the only depiction of an extension agent on a sitcom.
Yes, probably.
That's great. We have a few more comments here. Stacy said that her daughter loves the farmers market scene, and that's something else that, I think is great about this book is the multi-generational quality of it, because parents can share this, grandparents can share this, caregivers can share this with kids or classes. There's really no age with this type of story. So I think that's a good quality of this that you have with this story too. And then Gianna says, I love this book. I read it to my son weekly. So that's really great to hear that. Oh, somebody thinks that your book is their favorite book. That's very special.
There you go, Matt. You took chicken stew to stardom.
You did.
John, one of the reasons I had you on here is so you could talk the real gardening component. Because I have to confess, I'm not that great of one. There's a plant behind me right there. That's the only thing literally that I've kept alive.
Well, I'm very proud
we'll
of
see
you.
how long it lasts.
I'm with you, Matt. My husband jokes that once I moved in after we got married, that all of his plants died. Even the grass died after I moved in. I didn't even do anything. My
artificial fern nose is looking really good.
That's the way to go, We have another comment. Cindy says, Stu meets a buffalo. Stu could get lost in a grain field or two. And that Stu needs to visit John in Nebraska. Stu travels west.
There we go.
An animate like a drawing of John Porter.
Right, there we go. Actually have a caricature somewhere like that someone did at like the art festival in Charleston Festival one year. So it's like me in bib overalls with a pitchfork, So there we go. We've got the idea already.
Your work is done.
Right.
That would be perfect.
I haven't thought about a sequel, but why not?
I know, after Stu maybe gets a movie or whatever, we'll see.
Sequels don't always do well, but some of them, Star Wars, those did pretty good.
Yeah.
Harry Potter comes to mind. Yeah, there's a few good ones out there. Well, I want to again thank you both so much for joining us. This has been a great discussion. And again, for all of you watching, we really appreciate you all chiming in so much. This has been great. And if you'd like a copy of the book, the link is here in the comments. Also, if you chimed in late and you didn't get to see the beginning of the presentation, you can watch the replay here on our Facebook page, as well as the Zoom Into Books YouTube channel. So if you subscribe to that, then you'll get notified when we upload new videos, and we will be uploading all of the videos from this conference beginning on December 1st. So if you missed like the video reading of the book or something, again, just watch the replay here on Facebook about a minute after we are finished today, and it's there for you at your leisure. And again, we thank you all so much for watching us here. Again, we are doing this in response to the pandemic and having all of our events be canceled. So we appreciate your participation, and we appreciate the participation of our authors and our guests. So I hope that you both have a happy and safe and healthy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you all for this platform. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, it's been fun. It's been just as fun for us too, to see everyone. So,
And thanks, John, for doing this with me.
Thank you. I've had fun, so thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Right,
Thank
thank you,
you,
thank you.